This episode is presented by Fleet Feet.
We're not going to be a brand-specific running group. This isn't a mono-branded city. Like every footwear company and even most apparel companies have had a home base here at some point. So it would be wrong if we were like Nike Deadstock Run Club, Deadstock Run Club powered by Adidas, or whatever. And who knows, maybe there's opportunities for that at some point, but it will never be where if you're not wearing this, if you're not wearing that, if you're not part of this, you can't be here. It will never be that.
My name is Allison Mariella Desir, and this is Out and Back, a podcast exploring how Black, Indigenous, and other people of color are reclaiming space in the outdoors. Each episode, you'll hear their stories, and we'll get outside with them in their element. This episode, I'm leaving Washington for Portland, Oregon, a place that is regularly called the whitest big city in America. There, we're hanging out with the Black-led Deadstock Run Club. Oregon has simultaneously been central to the history of running, while also being a historically unsafe place for Black people. For instance, the state passed 3 Black exclusion laws in the 1800s. Those laws were later rescinded, but even during the 20th century, Klan demonstrations and cross burnings were common throughout the state. That's why what Ian Williams and Amir Armstrong are doing is so amazing and important. Together, they give Portland 2 dope places to get coffee and a welcoming place to run every Tuesday. If you want to see Ian, Amir, and I talking and running around Portland, check out our video series. There's a link to it in the show notes, or you can find it at crosscut.com/video. The day started with Ian and Amir at Deadstock Coffee, a place that felt as welcoming as a stoop in Harlem. What's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up?
Thank you for inviting me out.
Welcome to the city.
Tell me where we are.
We are in Old Town, Chinatown, which is part of downtown Portland. And this neighborhood is actually back in the late 18s. This is where, because of the railroads and everything, the only place where Black people were allowed to live. Because they disliked the idea of there being Black people in Oregon so much, there was no slaves at all. They were like, man, we'll till our own land. We seriously not even about it. But as they started to, as the railroad and everything started to expand, this was a neighborhood where everybody could live. So this at one point was a bustling Black community. The Mount Olivet Baptist Church was over there, which ended up getting moved out north. Literally, KKK moved next door and was like, check this out. I'm gonna give you this wood and you're gonna move, or we're gonna burn it down. And they were like, we'll take the wood. And so that's where Mount Olivet is currently, in North Portland off of Chautauqua. But after that, Japanese people moved in, they got moved out. Jewish people moved in, they got moved out. Chinese people moved in, and they were the last here. So that's why we call it Chinatown.
Dope. How do you know all this stuff?
I've been outside. I've been out here for a long time. I've been coming down here years. This is where the sneaker community has been. And Portland being the footwear capital of the world, part of the reason why Amir's even in the city is because of the footwear industry that is out here. Majority of the footwear industry was in this part of the neighborhood, and so there was no better place for us to go when I was looking to open up the shop.
Well, I would love for you to take us inside, check out the shop.
No, you gotta do it by yourself.
Show me around.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
All right.
So Deadstock Coffee, we're a sneaker-themed coffee shop. We've been open in this location, started in a shoe store across the street, 2015. And I had like a little stand that I moved up and down the stairs every day, which was really stupid. Another story. And then we moved into this spot February 2016 and been here ever since. So this is the only location, this is the original location. We use this space to try to, show as much like local and community art as possible, as long as it's related to like streetwear, music, sneakers, like all that cars, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like it's like a mix between like your bedroom and like a museum. And even like there's a signed pair, T-Max, signed by Tracy McGrady up there. The shoe that I designed when I was young and a bunch of colorways.
Wait. Let's go check out the shoe you designed when you were young.
I designed a shoe when I was young. And
Let's
then
go check it out.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you just dropped that real casual, like
here.
everybody designs shoes.
Yeah, they do. And
I guess so. So in Portland, everybody does.
We are the footwear capital of the world, like we spoke about. I used to work at Nike back in like 2005. Started at the employee store, then I made airbags, then I was a janitor. When I was a janitor, I asked the people who worked in the skate division if I could design a shoe, and they said yeah. So I did a shoe that was inspired by my night job as a janitor. So I did a 3-shoe pack called the Custodian Pack. It was a vacuum shoe, a Windex shoe, and then a wet floor sign. And so this is the wet floor, and it released in 2009. And this was the thing that like got me going like on a serious career trajectory. Before I just wanted to do something in shoes, didn't know what I wanted to do. After I did this, I was like, I want to make shoes. And so that's what got me started. And so fast forward to now, when we were trying to figure out what our brand colors were, the thing that people knew about me the most was this shoe. So we just decided to adopt this as our brand colorway. Like, so black, white, yellow, red.
The amount of intention and thought behind everything you do like blows my mind. And Amir, you've been here for a minute. How did y'all meet?
As Ian mentioned, the sneaker industry brought me here. I was working for an Italian brand called Diodora. The U.S. headquarters was in Philadelphia, so I moved out here from there when I was 25. So I walked in, heard about this sneaker thing, coffeeshop. I didn't have Wi-Fi at the time. I'm like, let me just go in here and like steal some Wi-Fi for a quick sec. So I walk in and I see all this like Allen Iverson, Sixers stuff, and I'm just like, who's from Philly? Ian's like serving coffee, turns around, he's like,
I said, who wants to fight about it? That's the first thing I said. I was like, who has words?
That's the first thing he did say. And I was just like, energy. I'm there. Crazy enough, it was you, Terrence, and Isai. Like the 3 people that you want to know and need to know in Portland. And what I thought was an hour in the store of me, like, you know, taking Wi-Fi and just working, I ended up staying for like the entire day, for like 5-6 hours. And this man introduced me to every single person that walked through the door that day. The rest is history. I've been bugging him for the next 4 years.
I'm like the village elder. Fortunately, I know most people, and like, you know, my job is to introduce people to more people so that people can do more people-y stuff, right? Coffee shops are a meeting spot, like they're a community space, but I wanted a spot where I could go hang out with my homies. Like there was no middle zone. If you worked at Nike, left and went to Adidas, there's nowhere to hang out other than like a club or something like that, and I didn't want to go there. You know, I wanted to see somebody during the day. I want to be able to bring my nephew. So we would go to coffee shops, but then we just hated the coffee shops that we would go to. We never felt comfortable. So instead of complaining about it, just built one. And the hope was to give other people the platform to be able to do the same thing, to connect, to take a break. Even during COVID, I refused to close. I thought it was important that people always had people to go back to. So even if we only let one person in the door, this was still, like, this is essentially the stoop. Like you see,
this is major stoop vibes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, you already see how it is, right? Like when we first started talking, you were like, I like what's happening here because this is what happens here all day. Because it's rarely about sneakers. It's rarely about, it's often about what's happening in the world, family, which Kanye album is better. Like, those are the conversations that we have. It just happens to be that majority of us like this thing that goes on our feet, you know?
So,
yep.
How did the Run Club start, right? Because there's Deadstock Coffee and Deadstock Run Club.
Yeah, it's a funny story. In 2014, I was like, I want to open this coffee shop, but I needed people to come together first. So I was like, I knew that there needed to be like energy around people meeting. So I was like, I'm gonna start this running thing. It was called the Good Enough Run Club because it was for people who suck at running. So we just did good enough. That's fine. And So it's like 4 people, 6 people, 8, 8, 12, 8, 3, like, because we don't run, right? And then, so, then I ended up just opening the coffee shop, all that kind of stuff. 2016, tried to bring it back, nothing. 2017, I was like, maybe I should bring it back, nothing. 2019, Hood to Coast reaches out and they're like, hey, here's a team. And Amir had moved here, 2018? Yeah, so Amir moved here like 2018 and was very interested in starting like a running community thing.
Your recruitment tactics are really good.
Thank you. Listen, I know what I'm doing.
He just looked, you're running Hood to Coast.
Yeah, I did.
And then I'm like, okay. And he goes, I'm like, well, like, who are we running with? And he turns around and looks at, like, I think it was Luis and
like Jordan.
Jordan.
not runners.
Like, well, we're gonna have to start running.
We're running with them.
Yeah, them. Like, they gave us like hey, you guys are like a bunch of minorities. Here's a team, And I was like, I can find some more minorities, I guess. And then I swear, like the next day, Amir walked in and I was like, we're running Hood to Coast with us.
The thing is, I didn't say like no. I just said okay.
Sometimes you just gotta let people know they already was gonna do it anyway.
That's
I'm just like, why don't you do it right now?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So then he was like, we should probably start running, and he's like, well, I'm gonna start getting people together, and so he started the running, and so it would be like, again, 4, 8, 8, 8, a little bit more, and then we're trying to build up to it. COVID, so that shut all of that down we announced it as an official run club.
Oh, and then the shutdown.
It might have been a few days later because I was in San Francisco at the time for work. The Pelicans were playing, and then they canceled the game.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh snap! Like,
this is real.
So
when they started canceling NBA games in the middle of the game, I'm like, nah, it's kind of serious.
I love that your gut check for it being real was, oh snap.
The NBA, they like money. But then, I don't know, somewhere toward the summer when you could be back outside again and like all that, we decided to, so he was, go ahead.
So, ironically enough, I switched jobs and I had a one-on-one with Jen Smith, who's currently a pre-manager at Nike. At the time, we were working in the same agency together. We had a random one-on-one, and we didn't work together at Thesis in any type of capacity. It was just like, meet this person. So I was like pulling up on Tuesdays, like, well, I'm just running. And then I told Jen I was coming to Deadstock on Tuesdays and run. So she came and pulled up, invited some friends. It was really essential to bring in the researchers and energy.
Bring in like runners. Yeah, Jen knows the running community here, so she brought like runners. So we had homies, and then we had runners, and somehow the homies and the runners were like, we could all just be friends, like
I see another shirt. Homies and runners.
Yeah.
Not lovers and friends.
Yeah, lovers and friends, homies and runners.
Stick around. We haven't even gotten to the adventure yet.
This episode is presented by Fleet Feet. Fleet Feet believes that running changes everything. We sell the shoes, apparel, and gear you need to get started. And we host fun runs, training groups, and events. Whether you're training for your first mile or your 50th marathon, we're here to run with you. Learn more at fleetfeet.com.
Now we're headed a mile across town to Concourse Coffee, Ian's other shop, to talk more with Ian and Amir. Why is this, love the name, get the concept, but why wasn't it Deadstock too?
Deadstock in its truest form means like brand new, or like it's something that's rare, pair of shoes, Deadstock records, or denim or anything like that. Yeah, it's like the end of stock, so it's like Deadstock. And it has been updated or reclaimed, I guess, to mean like brand new, or like it's the state of whatever the product is. So it's like unworn, unopened, So if we open a bunch of Deadstocks, that's not very Deadstock of it, right? So wherever we open another one, it will have to actually be something that is special to that area. Opening another Deadstock in Portland is kind of difficult, or in my eyes, right? But it's also mine, so I get to decide. And the name Concourse comes from in the back area, which a lot of production happens. So we look at that like the arena, and then this is the concourse. This is the section where you go, you hang out, you connect with the homies before you go into work or whatever it is you're gonna go.
Well, we've been reminiscing, hearing some childhood stories. I'd love, Amir, if you could start by telling us sort of what was your life like growing up? Were you always a runner?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Philly. My family moved to Sicklerville, New Jersey when I was younger. I played football, basketball growing up. Believe it or not, I ran track 1 year, second grade. And I was just like, oh, all right, this is cool. What was dope about it is like my father, I feel like he was never one of those dads to like force me into a sport or anything like that. Whatever I wanted to do, he was like, hey, I'm gonna support you in it. I ended up going to Camden Catholic High School in South Jersey, and crazy enough, when I was there my sophomore year, the Olympics were 2008, Irving Saladino ended up winning the long jump, who's a Panamanian. My mother's originally from Panama.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, it'd be cool to like, you know, try track, you know, maybe I'll jump or whatever, you know, figured I'll do it again. And we even have a track at the school, so we had to train at a dirt track down the street, and then another high school's track. And I remember somebody telling me like, oh, I think you'd be a really good triple jumper. So
that's the weird one.
So
at the time I didn't know what it was. Yeah. So like I'll never forget this, the night before a dual meet, I had practice in the hallway. It was like, okay, it's like long jumping, but you got to do this. You got to hop, skip, and jump. I'm like, all right, whatever the hell this is. So the next day at the dual meet, I ended up jumping. My first time jumping was ended up being like 40 feet, and never done before.
A lot.
For somebody their first time.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm like, is that a lot? I'm not jumping 40 feet.
Yeah.
For somebody their first time and not knowing what they're doing was actually really good. So coach comes up, he's like, yeah, you had about 6, 7 feet or whatever on there. You could be a state champion. In my mind, I don't know is 5 to 7 feet like a big difference? I'm like looking at my feet, measuring stuff out. And from there on, I was just like, oh, okay, like I'll stick with it. Going into my senior year, was probably top 3 jumpers in the state in my event, which was pretty cool. Like I would go to meet the champions, and I came from a school that didn't even have a track, so a lot of people weren't really checking for me.
Right.
Ended up going to college. I still have the Delaware State triple jump record.
Wow. And nothing that you're saying, I don't hear any kind of thing about long distance running. I don't hear any kind of
or short distance running.
Yeah, or short distance running. Like, where did the running, when did, you're now the founder, leader of Deadstock, how did you get into long distance running? And do you think about why you didn't run long distance sooner?
That's the joke. Now, like gave you the background, and that's the joke with all my teammates. Just like, you run all these miles now and do all these things, which I don't feel like I run a crazy amount of miles. I started running more when I was working with Deodora, managing the West region for running. And it was something where it was just like, well, you start doing it and you notice the community and just the friendships and aspects that you have in running, even to the point where people are having full-on conversations when they're running, which is something that I still dislike to do sometimes. It actually helps you. It helps with your breathing though.
Yeah, it helps time pass.
Time pass, all types of things. So
right.
Yeah.
You would agree.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about your upbringing. I know that you grew up in a lot of white spaces. You spent a lot of your youth here in Oregon.
Yeah. So I grew up, I'm from back east. I'm from Newport News, Virginia.
10 minutes from where the greatest basketball player of all time is from, Allen Iverson.
Here we
You know what I'm
go.
saying? 202
Every
now.
time.
Every time. I will always get that in there. And if you cut it out, I'm going to be mad. No, so my mom is from Philly. My brother and sister, 11 and 12 years older than me. They were also born in Philly. My dad is from Virginia. We have a different dad. And so, I grew up out there. We lived there till I was 10. My dad passed from cancer, and my mom just decided, like, my brother was already here for work, and we just relocated. So when we moved here, we didn't move to Portland. We moved to Aloha, which is a small city between Beaverton and Hillsborough. After Aloha, we moved to Hillsborough. I was the only black kid in school as far as I can remember, except for 1 year. But other than that, like, I was the only black kid in school. First thing that anybody ever said to me in class was like, "Can I touch your hair?" I just didn't understand why. And then I looked around the classroom. Yeah, I grew up hearing all the things while I was cutting the grass about how I was supposed to be cutting grass and all sorts of words that everybody, doesn't like to hear, and just got used to it. And so, I went to private school for middle and high school, played basketball, was not a runner. I ran, I did track because I knew that it was good for basketball, but I just wanted to throw. And we were like, what's the shortest one? Sure, sign me up. And so I ran the 100. Like the first time we ran it, I think I ran a 15.7. I was like, I have no idea. By the time it was done, I was like a 13.2, and I was like, man, your boy's cooking right now. Yeah, ran the 100, and then we needed somebody for 4x1, so I did that too. Why not? But yeah, graduated class was 17. Little small school, and I was a terrible student. Like, never was a good student. Always was in trouble, always demerits, but I knew that I couldn't get kicked out of school because I was the only black one. Like, I was the one who was in all the brochures, like, they could not kick me out. Like that, and I got in trouble for silly stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of experiences that you have been describing, both of you, about being called the N-word or people underestimating you, but those experiences didn't seem to stop you or hold you back, right?
No, I don't have a choice.
No other choice.
Yeah, like, what am I supposed to do? If anybody says anything to y'all, like, are you gonna be like, man, guess I shouldn't be here? Like, no, I don't have a choice. Like, I have to, if I want that thing, if that's not the way to go, I'll go the other way. Like, there's always I will tell you, there's one thing I learned in that school. There's always a way. Like, I went to school for a very low price because they needed me for the photos and whatnot. They say it's because I was a great student, terrible student. But I knew that there was I knew that there was a way, right? Like, I'm like, oh, there's a way. Later on, I also learned I'm dyslexic, and so I learned that also, when that is the truth, you find ways around things always.
That's dope. That's a lesson for me. There's a way.
There's always a way.
Amir, when I think about you running outside, tall black man in Portland, what does that experience feel like for you?
Honestly, it's really interesting, but like, it's empowering for, like, when people see me, it's like, who's this tall black guy? Like, when at the time I had really long locks, it came down to my back.
They were super long.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like, you're out in those spaces, and you just feel like, like I'm here. This is what I'm doing. You never forget that first, like, I always give this analogy of a superhero, or some of you remember, the first black superhero. It's like, wow, this person looks like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe I can be that, or like, just anything in life. When you see somebody that's doing it, it's just like, okay, I can do this.
Describe what is a Tuesday night like?
Yeah, definitely. Tuesday night, we're there Tuesday. Tuesday. E-R-R-R.
I was like, what do you say?
At
Got it.
7 p.m. You will hear us blaring music outside of the coffee shop. Groups of people coming in, waiting for the announcements.
Nobody said anything yet. If you walking with me, we're gonna be right over here. Everybody else, I'm not worried about.
Usually at 7:15, we like to give some time for people to, do what they need to do.
He nicely put it. We're just like, yeah.
Different brands come through, do demo runs. We We have, to your point, we have 3 groups that we have, which is, we have the Get Going group within. That's the walk, jog, Amir mind your own business group, because I always ask what they about to do with it.
Where are you guys walking today? But don't worry about it, bro.
Yep, I usually get greeted that way. When I ask, so
You'll see.
You'll see when we make it back. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Then we have the best group. No bias to pay me whatsoever.
We have my group, the Get Into It group.
And then you got the as Ian would call it, the runners.
Yeah, the real runners.
And last but not least, we have the Getting To It group with Mark here.
Which is led by Margano, previously led by Jen Smith. So it's cool that we start from the shop and we loop.
Ian's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles. I'm 2.75 miles. Mark is 4.5 miles, correct? So just wanted to put that out there. All paces are welcomed in each group. Mark, take it over. We're about to get the stretch going.
And it's right by the water. It's the waterfront. We utilize the waterfront.
Beautiful.
And it's beautiful to see. It's a way to look at the city from different angles. And yeah, people are just like, it's I like to tell people it's a vibe. You get out there, we got something for everyone, and it's a social club with a run disguised into it.
That's essentially. And what we didn't really mention earlier was Portland had the problem, with all the protests and like riots around like the time of George Floyd's passing and all that. So they had made all these rules around like the size of groups of people. And there was a rule that you couldn't have more than 50 people in a spot because like mixed COVID and all that, right? So couldn't have more than 50 people or else that was like an unorganized mob. And there were weeks where we would have 90 people. And so we would be like, okay, Amir, you take your group across the street over there, we'll take ours over here, and like pretend some of the coolest parts of the run are, you have people who walk, who we'll also jog in our group and stuff like that, who are like, what, I think I want to try the 2 mile, the 2.5, the 3 mile today, and so they'll do that. People who get injured will walk with us. People who are like, they have somebody who they're trying to get to know, or they have like somebody in town. They'll bring somebody and be like, okay, I know you're not a runner, so walk with these guys. Or I know you like to run, so I walk, but you can run.
What does it mean to the two of you? Like, how has it impacted your lives and the lives of its members?
It's a place where I moved here, I didn't know anyone, so it's kind of like paying it forward to the next transplant that comes through, and they're able to just fall into place, find their community, find friends, find different business relationships. You could be romantic relationships. You could find your future husband or wife or whoever.
Well, in fact, I met my husband through my run club. So.
Oh really? Oh shoot! What? Yeah. Man, y'all out here, run club Tinder.
It wasn't on purpose. It just so happened.
Yeah, it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah. Where and then it's also beautiful to see like to go out. There's times me and Ian both been out and we see like a large group from our run club that's doing like karaoke or in a bar, hanging out and just being like, seeing those friendships form.
I would say sometimes I'm like, I didn't go to run club last week. I have to go this week because somebody's gonna be like, where are you? And even whether it be because I didn't feel like it, or maybe I had like something work related, or or if I was out of town or whatever, I'd be like, I kind of have to go. Like there's some great friendships and great relationships and like all that come for me out of it as well. It's very encouraging. I mean, I can tell I will just for sure, like I know he's had bad days where it's like, man, he just needs to show up, and we'd be like, you good? And he just doesn't say anything, and then by the time it's done, he's like, man, I'm good. And me too, like I'm like, man, I don't feel like being here, and then like by the time it's done, we're walking, we're talking, all that kind of stuff, and like, man, it's just good to see people who are encouraging. And then for me, it's also a little bit different because there's still, originally I wanted to do it in order to get people into the coffee shop. There are definitely people who know about the cafe because of the run, and so it's not like millions of dollars, but every bit definitely counts, and it helps to just with authenticity, you know, and like we would talk about building community as a business, you know, and that really is a big part of it. And also I just really want to encourage people to just move in general, and just exercise, and it on the flip, like I just said, it holds me accountable, you know, and so the hope is, you know, stuff like this. We just did our 5K, you know, the first one,
that was so cool to see.
it was crazy. First one had 100 people run, and you know, we're able to raise money for a Big Yard Foundation, but also just like we really empowered the community to run the thing, just like empowering everybody instead of just like, this is mine, you know.
What does the future hold?
I mean, everything, but the big one for me is we need a collab. As some sneakerheads, there's nothing better than a sneaker collab. So,
So what kind? Let's get into the nitty gritty. What kind of collab we looking for?
I don't know, man. What we want?
I want to be comfortable, light, swaggy.
Yeah.
Just everything.
Yeah.
Just allow us to do what we do best, and we delivering. Y'all create. We joke around with all the different brands that come in. Like, yeah, so about the shoe.
yeah. Thanks for doing trials today, but when are we gonna get our shoe? Like we do it's
so
not
a Deadstock shoe.
Deadstock Run Club.
Like a global shoe.
I mean, it could be global, but also it could just release with us. Like
Let me know when the shoe drops. I will buy one.
Hey, and then I think like me and this something we talked about prior, just like, you know, what's that next step as a club look like? You know, is it, you know, nonprofit status? You know, being able to, you know, expand different programming along with that. I feel like there's some opportunity there every time I look at different run clubs, different orgs. I mean, I come from working nonprofits as well. And just, you know, being able to elevate the experience for the club members, for the community, and be able to keep doing these. Like, you know, this was the first race we did, Chinatown 5K. It's the first race I ever put on in my life, you know. And, you know, to be able to connect, I think, you know, Ian had mentioned this, like, we have vendors in there, and even have like Fleet Feet Portland come down and get foot scanning done. I feel like when you're a new runner or just new to the place, you buy what's hot, or you don't necessarily understand what goes into fitting and whatnot. Like being able to educate people on like, hey, this is the correct shoe for you. This is the right size for you. So it was their first time being like, wow, I can get my foot scanned. And this literally tells me everything I need to know. It's the trippiest thing when people first see it. But it's like, how do we continue to elevate, and what does that look like? And we have a ton of ideas. We are not short of ideas or creativity.
That's actually the problem. we essentially threw a party at 10 a.m.
with a run in it.
Yeah.
Well, I have no doubt in 5 years all these ideas will have manifested.
It's gonna be more ridiculous. Next time you here, because you're coming back.
Yes, with my son.
Yeah, come back. That's right. Bring the youth and your husband.
Be more Amirs here.
Yeah, more Amirs. You know, next time you come back, it'll be exponential. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you both because I can feel your energy, and like, I mean, I was joking, but I would move here just to hang out here and at Deadstock.
Yeah, come on.
So thank you for your energy, for all your contributions to like making movement a space for us. If you want to continue adventuring with me and dive deeper into this story, check out the show notes. There, you'll find links to the video series and an article I wrote about the themes of this episode. This podcast is hosted and reported by Allison Mariella Desir. That's me. My producer is Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers. The executive producer is Mark Baumgarten. Audio production from Bryce Y. Adelson and Sarah E. Hall. And audio support from Rusty Bugal and Seth Halloran. You can subscribe to Out and Back wherever you listen. And if you like the show, please review us. It helps create excitement around a new show. And if you'd like to support the work we do at Crosscut, go to crosscut.com/membership. In addition to supporting our journalism, members receive complete access to on-demand programming from KCTS-9, Seattle's PBS station. For the latest political, environmental, and culture news from the Pacific Northwest, visit crosscut.com. Out and Back is a product of Cascade Public Media. Next time, we're heading to the water to do some fly fishing.